This is the new Kia EV6, and this is what you need to know about it.
The first thing to point out is that this is a new fully electric car that's very similar to the Hyundai Ioniq 5. So Hyundai and Kia are very, very close. And just like the Kia e-Niro and the Kia Soul EV were very similar to the Hyundai Kona Electric, now the EV6 is almost identical underneath to Hyundai's Ioniq 5. But on the outside, those two cars obviously look completely different. So here, Kia calls this its new digital Tiger face, which is an evolution of the Tiger nose grille, which is used on its fuel-powered cars. So you've got these LED daytime running lights, dynamic indicators, and there's also these lower air intakes down here. So it all adds up into quite a striking look.
19, 20 or 21-inch alloys are available depending on spec. But no matter which version you go for, your EV6 will have quite a bold profile, with a character line which runs along the bottom of the doors up towards the rear wheel arches. And the gloss black at the back up by the C-pillar gives a kind of floating roof look, with a subtle spoiler that sits above a massive curving light bar. But what do you think? Is this the best looking EV around? Let us know in the comments below. By the way, the sporty styling is actually backed up by some pretty impressive performance figures. So the range-topping, performance-focused EV6 GT gets 577 brake horsepower and a 0 to 62 miles per hour time of just 3.5 seconds, which is actually quicker than a Porsche Taycan 4S. But even the lesser versions of the EV6 still sound pretty impressive on paper. So the entry-level model gets an electric motor, which drives the rear wheels, and it also gets a 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery. That is good for a claimed 316 miles of range, which is actually further than the 282 miles on offer in the e-Niro, and actually further than the Ioniq 5 as well, because although the Ioniq 5 and the EV6 are very, very similar, they actually use different batteries. In the middle of the lineup, between the entry-level 226 brake horsepower EV6 and the range-topping 577 brake horsepower GT version, you can have an all-wheel drive model with 321 brake horsepower.
Like the Ioniq 5, one of the standout features of the EV6 is its maximum charging speed, which is 220 kilowatts. That means you can go from 10 to 80% of the battery capacity in just 18 minutes. But that is using one of the fastest public chargers out there. And in the UK, there aren't many around. So yes, it can charge twice the speed of an ID4 or a Mustang Mach-E, but more likely on a long journey, you're going to end up at a motorway service station using one of the 50 kilowatt chargers. And from one of them, all those three cars will take the same amount of time to charge. And while the car charges, you can actually fully recline the driver's seat and the front passenger seat, so you can have a nap while you wait. I'm going to go back to sleep now. Like the Ioniq 5, with a specific adapter like this, which you get on every EV6 apart from the entry-level trim, you can actually use the car's battery to charge other stuff. So all you've got to do is plug it in, put something into the 3-pin socket down here, turn this thing on, and then you can even charge your phone. But the maximum speed that it charges at is 3.6 kilowatts. So you can charge another electric car off the EV6's battery, but it's going to take quite a long time. Now, in pictures and on screen, it looks quite sporty and compact, but this is actually really big. It's bigger than an Audi Q5, and within the EV world and Kia's lineup, it's much bigger than the e-Niro and the Soul EV. In fact, the distance between the front and the rear wheels is a bit longer than it is in the massive 7-seat Kia Sorento. So space back here is really good. You can see I'm just under 6 foot. The driver's seat is set up in my driving position. I've got absolutely loads of legroom, so I can properly stretch out and relax back here. You've also got a flat floor too, which adds to that feeling of openness. Headroom is pretty good, but if I lean back and rest my head on the headrest, I am just touching the roof lining back here. But if I'm sitting up straight, then I've still got a bit of clearance here. So even that is pretty good, and it generally does feel very open and spacious back here. The boot is pretty good as well. You get 490 litres of storage, which isn't the biggest in the electric car world, but it's not exactly small, is it? It's a nice simple shape. You get a little bit of underfloor storage, and you can even fit the parcel shelf under this bit as well.
You've got some storage up front too, with a 52-litre space to store your charging cables where the engine would have gone. But if you go for a 4-wheel drive model, then that's reduced by 20 litres.
Let's take a closer look inside the EV6 now, where you've got a pretty minimalist layout and these two 12.3-inch screens. You've got one for the digital driver display and this other one for the infotainment system. Now the driver display is really good, it's massive, got tons of information on it. You can control what you're seeing on it fairly easily as well. It's really bright, got nice graphics. The only thing is, you might find that depending on where you have the steering wheel, the top of it might just be blocking your view of the display a little bit. As for the infotainment system, it's a really good system. It's just the same as the latest Hyundai and Kia systems out there, so it's got a reasonably responsive screen, nice graphics as well, and you get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. Down here, you have some alarm bells ringing because you've got a touch-sensitive panel for the climate controls. But it's not all bad news, because all you've got to do is press this fan icon there, and you turn these dials into the things that then control the climate controls. And it's also pretty simple to do that. It's just a shame that this icon isn't a bit bigger and that also there aren't physical buttons because they're just easier to hit when you're on the move. In terms of the quality in here, it does feel pretty decent. And on the dashboard, you've actually got this bit made from recycled plastic and there's some vegan leather on this particular interior as well. And the gloss black finish feels quite nice. There's a bit of a wobble to this center console here, but it's good having this layout that allows for a massive storage area down here. And under the armrest, there's also a big cubby hole here as well. So generally, this is a pretty impressive interior. But now, here's a bit more information on what this car's actually up against.
The EV6 will be battling other large electric cars like the VW ID4, Skoda Enyaq, Ford Mustang Mach-E and the Tesla Model Y, whenever that actually turns up in the UK, that is. And the specs, interior and pricing all stack up pretty well for the Kia.
It's not cheap, but it is similarly priced to big battery versions of the VW ID4, the Ford Mustang Mach-E and the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Interestingly, Kia does offer a cheaper, smaller battery version of the EV6, but it's not coming to the UK. So that means over here, this starts from £40,895.
That gets you 19-inch alloys, heated front seats and automatic emergency braking which can detect pedestrians and cyclists as standard. It gets a decent amount of kit and keeps the price down, so this looks likely to be the sensible choice in the lineup. But you can also go up to GT line, and from there you get the choice of rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, as well as the vegan leather interior and reclining front seats. Above that, there's the GT Line S, which gets heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, an augmented reality head-up display and 20-inch alloys. But for almost £52,000 in the four-wheel drive version, it certainly isn't cheap. Pricing for the range-topping EV6 GT, which will be released next year, hasn't been announced yet, but it will be more expensive still and get 21-inch alloys, bucket seats, a limited slip differential and a heat pump.
Among the cool kit on the equipment list is a 3D surround camera, which you get on GT Line S and GT models, where at the press of a button, you can change the camera view so it's like you're looking at the car from the outside and you can move it around. So it's pretty useful and really cool.
There's also a remote smart park assist function. Holding down buttons on the key fob lets you move the car forwards or backwards at low speeds out of parking spaces. That's standard on GT Line S and GT trims. And that is everything you need to know about the new Kia EV6. Are you a fan? Tell us in the comments below. And please do subscribe to the channel so you can see our full review of the EV6 when we drive it. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, go to whatcar.com to get a great deal on your next new car.